Hi everybody, in this video we will go over the cookie order master order problem, part B, the actual solution. So before we do this, let's quickly review, super quick review what part B is. So we have to make the remove variety method, and what it will do is it takes in a parameter, which is a string, and if the item in the orders list or the cookie orders list has that name, we are going to remove it. So we remove these two items so that these are the only items left in the list, and then we add up the items in the list, the number of boxes that we removed. So we've got one box we removed and then three more. 1 plus 3 is 4 boxes that we remove, and we will return that total. So really, you cannot actually remove an item of the list and then grab the boxes. What I would actually do first is grab the item, get the number of boxes, and then remove the item. So here's the solution. So this is my favorite type of solution, and we'll actually go over to the one on the right. Just give me a minute to adjust it. There we go. So here is probably one of my more favorite ways to do this problem is whenever we have to remove items from a list, start at the right side at the last item instead of the first item, which ends up preventing a lot of issues you have with skipping items once you remove them. If you're not really sure what I mean by that, you should probably go back and watch the other video, which is the hints on how to do part B of this problem, because that explains the skipping of items in a list when you remove stuff in a lot more detail. Let me change the font really quick before we go. And there we go. So here's our parameter called cookie var. So what we will do is, let me just adjust this really quick. So what we do is we will go through the items in the list starting at the last item and going up until the first or leftmost item. First of all, let's grab an item from the list. So the list name was orders. Just keep that in mind, because when we were doing this problem in the master order class, our list of cookie orders was named orders. So orders.getI will grab that item from the cookie orders list, and then we'll just store this in a variable. So we have to see if this cookie order matches the cookie type over here. In other words, back to part B, we have to see if the item in the list, if the type of item is going to match the item in the parameter. So remember that each item in the list is a cookie order. So let's scroll up to the cookie orders method or class, the cookie order class. And so remember, the cookie order class returns the variety for the type of cookie it is. So we would say if c.getVariety, that's the variety of cookie, such as chocolate chip or whatever type of cookie it is, if that is equal to the parameter cookie var, which is this, that means we should remove the item. But before we actually remove the item, we should really grab the number of boxes in that cookie order first, because once we remove the item, we cannot really do anything else with it. So in other words, what we should really do first is, let's say this is our cookie order that we need to remove. We need to grab this 1, which is the number of boxes in that cookie order. How do we do that? Well, go up to the cookie order class, and cookie order class, each object has getNumBoxes, which returns the number of boxes for that order. So I will say c.getNumBoxes. That's the cookie order that I'm talking about, that number of boxes. Let's grab that and add it onto this variable called numRemoved, which is basically the number of boxes we remove from the list. So add that on to our total, and then we will remove the item from the list. So we say orders, which is our name of the list, dot remove I, which is the position in the list that we are on. We'll I minus minus and continue the process over and over again. Once we're done removing all the proper items and adding up all the boxes of the proper items that were removed, we will just return numRemoved, which is the total number of boxes that we removed. So I'm going to scroll up and show a slightly different solution to this problem in 3, 2, 1. So these are the two solutions. They're pretty much the same. This solution on the right was basically exactly what I went over. This solution on the left is pretty much the same too. It's just that all it did was it didn't store orders.getI into a cookie order variable. It just replaced it here. So instead of c.getVariety, it just said orders.getI.getVariety, which you can absolutely do that. And then instead of c.getNumBoxes, it did orders.getI.getNumBoxes, and that's perfectly fine to do too. So you could do it this way as well. I'm going to go over a different solution in 3, 2, 1. Here are some different solutions. So let's say that, let me try to zoom out on this first. Whoops. Okay, so let's say that instead you wanted to move forward in the loop. You didn't want to start at the last item. You wanted to start at the leftmost item 0. So you could do a typical while loop. You could say for int I equals 0 while I is less than orders.size. And here's the thing, you do not want to increment the index all the time. You only want to increment it if you don't remove an item. Because if you remove an item, that's when you don't want to increment I. Because if you remove an item from the list, just as an example up here, if I, for example, let me try to write this different. There we go. So let's say I tried to remove the item with blah from the list, and it's at position 0. What ends up happening is that the items to the right of it end up shifting over, so now yo is at position 0. So in this case, I do not want to increment the index because otherwise I'll skip over the item yo. So let's make sure we don't do that. By the way, if you weren't clear on that, make sure to watch the hints for part B in the other video. It explains it in much more detail. So if this is pretty much the same thing. So you'd say orders.getI to grab the item from the cookie orders list and store it in a cookie order variable. If c.getVariety, so if the type of cookie in the list is equal to cookieVar, which is the parameter, then we want to do the same thing. c.getNumBoxes, just grab the number of boxes, add it to the total number of removed, and then remove the item from the list, but do not increment I. And again, you don't want to increment I because you don't want to skip items as you are moving forward in the list. Otherwise, if you did not remove an item from the list, go ahead and increment I like you normally would. So this is another solution. It's just accounting for if you're going forwards in the array list as opposed to backwards. This solution to the left is pretty much the same thing. It's just instead of storing orders.getI in the variable c, it's just going to use it here. So again, instead of c.getVariety, it will say orders.getI.getVariety. And instead of C.getNumBoxes, it'll say orders.getI.getNumBoxes. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to take a quick look at the AP solutions in 3, 2, 1. So the AP solutions are pretty much no different from what I've done. It's just it keeps saying this dot. Again, you do not really need to put this dot in order to solve the problem. So if you are confused on that, just know that you do not need this dot in order to solve the problem. That's pretty much it. And if you need hints on any of the problems, remember to watch the other videos, or if you need the solution for part A, there's a video for that as well. Thank you.